In this video, I'm going to show you how to find your sensitivity. This is going to be particularly for those that play tactical FPS games like Valorant and Counter-Strike. Welcome to FPS Coach. My name's Rambo Kim. So we're going to be going over a few different drills and techniques. So if you can follow along, even better. So the first thing I want you to do is we need to make sure that our mouse is tracking horizontally. So when we bend our wrists left to right, or if you're an arm aimer, we want this crosshair to be horizontal, right? Doesn't matter what sensitivity you use, it's going to be a little bit wonky and we have to make compensations. If your mouse is moving diagonally, that means your mouse is probably rotated weird. So we want to try to match this mouse with our arm. So when we bend it, it's going to be moving left to right. The next thing I want you to do is we're going to do two different drills. One is we're going to practice keeping this crosshair on the bot's head as we're strafing left and right and as we're bending my wrist. So if you look at my wrist right now, what I'm doing is bending it left and right, and then also using my movement to change directions when my bend of my wrist hits its maximum. A lot of sensitivity is going to be based on feel. It's going to be based on your hand-eye coordination, your athletic ability, your anatomy, etc. Now we're going to go super far. So pick a spot anywhere it is, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep the crosshair on the bot's head, and we're going to strafe left and right, and then as soon as our wrist hits our maximum bend, we're switching directions. So this is going to be particularly useful for correcting your misses. So say if I flick and then I need to make those small corrections, if your sensitivity is too fast, it feels jittery first of all, and it feels like I'm not able to keep the mouse stable. So I don't know if you can kind of tell, my personal hand-eye coordination just knows it's a little too fast. This is where you need to go into your console and start adjusting your sensitivity until you get to this point where you could do both close and far range. And what we're trying to do is get to a sensitivity that's going to be anywhere from like 0.05, and that's going to be your sweet spot range. So there's some players that have super high sensitivity and they have really good hand-eye coordination, good abilities with their hands and fingers, and they can get away with this fast sensitivity both close and far range. If I were to say the advantage of high sensitivity, obviously you have a faster range of motion, you don't have to use your hand and wrist as much, and you don't have to reset your wrist bend. And if you're far range, this is where the high sensitivity is more difficult. Obviously it's more sensitive, it's going to be more jittery, and it's really hard to make these little micro corrections when that sense is higher, because it's like you're moving a hair basically trying to fix those misses. The next drill we're going to do is a flicking test. So let's say if you're like a brand new beginner FPS player, maybe you get a new mouse, you need to find your sensitivity. What I always do is I always go for a sensitivity that's obviously too low. So I'll start with go something super low, and then what I'll do is practice flicking. So I have my target, this is my bot, and then I'll flick towards it. So I'll go here, this is going to be too low, I'll go up 0.4, and then I'll flick, and it's like I'll flick at this bot and I can get there, but it's like when I bend my wrist, I want the mouse to move a certain way. So what I want to do is match that sensitivity to my own personal feel. So what you do is you gradually add on 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and then eventually you'll get to that spot where, let's say I do 0.7, and then I'll practice flicking at bots, and it's like naturally when I bend my wrist, I can do it, but it's just stopping just shy, right? I can just feel it. It's like, it's just a little bit too low. So now I'll go to my normal sensitivity, and this is my natural sensitivity. So when I first got this mouse, this is the exact test I went through. I did the crosshair steady, and then I built my sensitivity up, right? Because every mouse feels different, it has different sensors, and the sensitivity is going to feel different. So keep adding 0.1, 0.1, and keep doing the flicking test, and eventually you'll get to a point where your sensitivity feels a little too fast, where you're just over flicking everything. Then you're around your sweet spot, and then you can fine tune and adjust your sensitivity. But if anything, I prefer you to be 0.1 sensitivities lower than a little too high, because I feel like it's a little easier to micro correct that way. So it is all down to feel, but if you follow these drills, I guarantee it'll help you. If you put the time in, it's gonna work.